Traitors left you blue ball this week. I know. It was kind of crazy. Like, so nobody went home at all. A complete non-elimination leg of an episode. I couldn't believe that Peter said no. And I can't believe both he and Parv are skating through another week because nobody went home. With Traitors, you feel like it was a drag race stunt to save either Parv or Peter. I would say Peter, because I would say Parvati, because there's no guarantee that Peter makes it through that. But there's no world in which that mechanism harms Parvati. It only helps her, because if there's no banishment, she can't go home. Yeah, it did kind of feel that way, especially because that mechanism is not something they did in Traitors UK. And like literally everything else we've seen on this season is a direct 1-for-1 of things they did on the UK season, except we're getting a lot of the challenges earlier. So like the challenge they did this week with the questions and the traps, they did on Traitors UK, but I think at that point there were literally only like 6 people left. It was way less. So it was fun to get to see more people fall into the traps. You hope Kate sticks around a while longer. She's good TV. I think she will, because Parv made a good point that nobody thinks she's a traitor, so she's a good person to keep around for the next time they have an opportunity to recruit. After they murder Peter, I guess. Because I think they have to... Yeah, well, obviously they have to murder tonight. They weren't given the option to recruit tonight. You liked the net swallowing people up. Once you know to look for it, which obviously they didn't, but like, once you know to look for it, the ropes for the net were so obvious. And I was wondering if you could, like, not go step in it, if you know. Like, if you go that far and you're like, oh, I see the ropes. This was wrong. Let me go the other way. I think that was really them. I do. That's not a dangerous thing. You don't need a stunt double for that. And I'm sure they all had to sign liability waivers. Sandra and Kevin winning the challenge was good to see. It was a fun surprise. I liked the pairings. It was one of those where you confirm answers to production beforehand. Sure, but I'm still saying you give your answers, but then if you walk over in there, you're like, oh, I see a net. I'm not getting in that. Then what? You're like, okay, I get it. I'm wrong. I can be out, but what if I don't want to step in the net? Although it looked kind of fun. The only one that really sucks is the falling into the fucking mud pit. Which is so funny to me. And the fact that it happened twice. Oh, God. I was so excited for it after seeing it on UK. I was like, oh, man, let these men fall in this mud. The poor interns. Testing things, you think? Peter didn't even get as dirty as those in the UK. I know. Maybe because he's taller? I don't know. We also have Peter's pals versus the leftovers coming. Yeah, and that's like kind of boring, but what I did like about it is the segment that we got of Sandra as a result, pulling like a Michaela in the sand with the billiard balls on the beat, with the billiard balls showing like this is us and this is them, and right now we have the numbers and they don't, but if they get anything, like this is the turning point, because if they get any more of us out, then we don't have the numbers anymore. And like a group of 5 people, even if they are all faithful as we the viewers know they are, that won't tell you stuff, that won't talk to you, that is shutting you out of rooms, is not helpful to you. They don't want to work with you. Which means ultimately you're fodder for banishment if you let them keep running the show. And like, it's more valuable to you to get them out than to get out traitors in a lot of ways, especially as we've discussed ad nauseum. If you think you know who the traitors are, keep them with you to the end and then get rid of them. You have that control at the very end to like saying, no, I want to banish again. No, I want to banish again. If you know that you've brought traitors with you. Although I think you got to have the numbers as faithful over the Traitors at that final thing. Otherwise, the Traitors can have the numbers to get you out. But the next time they have a banishment, I hope the point that Sandra made rallies everybody together to that cause. My prediction is they've murdered Trishelle. Because if they have any sense in their heads, and I think they were both there as Sandra was billiard plotting, and Parvati has this same game sense about her in terms of numbers. You can't murder MJ because she's one of your numbers, essentially. And Phaedra's not going to want to murder Bergie, I don't think. And Bergie's part of that clique. Oh, but Bergie's part of that clique. Like, it's gotta be the exit led you to believe that Trishelle will go next. I think that's like the edit. I thought you meant like the exit at like the end of the episode. I think that's the smartest choice because Phaedra, has Bergie as an ally. And his murder would continue to keep people off her scent, but I think other than Trishelle, they're already not on it. So there's like many advantages to getting rid of Trishelle at this point. If the leftovers can keep Parv and Phaedra in the game until like final 8, the faithful on the leftovers side would win. Yeah, I think that's very possible. It's just a matter of keeping themselves from getting banished. But if they have the numbers, they can do that. And then it is, as we've said, advantageous to Parvati and Phaedra to not murder them because they need those numbers to keep getting rid of the freaking clique. And, maybe they'll be able to get Peter next time. And ultimately, I don't know that there's particularly an advantage to recruiting when you already have two traitors. Because that just makes one of you more expendable because you're not going to split the money with 3 traitors at the end. You think ultimately we will get another recruitment when Parv inevitably leaves, sad to say. I mean, I certainly think it's more likely that Parv goes first rather than Phaedra. Nobody still, other than Trishelle, for exactly the reasons we talked about last week, nobody thinks Phaedra is a traitor. Cosmo. Stop. Enough. Hey. Enough. We either need a double murder or double banishment really soon. I mean, do they do that, though? I can't... Cosmo! Stop. I can't remember them ever doing that. Hey. Like, they keep upping the numbers or maintaining the numbers, but not dropping the numbers. I haven't seen it. The more purge, is at the end. Yeah. When, the votes come fast and furious. Hello, Aldo. I feel like we haven't seen you in a minute. Welcome in. Good to see you. Yeah. But, granted, we haven't added people in on other versions like Kate. Well, I think we started a person down on this season with 21 people instead of 22. So I think once that happened, they kind of put this backup plan into place and then decided on the right time to add Kate into the game. Because I don't think that was the original plan from the beginning. If Parv gets banished, then I think Phaedra has to blackmail one of Peter's pals into joining the Traitors in order to keep herself as the sole traitor to win. I mean, I think the move for Phaedra, potentially, if that's the case, is to recruit Bergie. That's probably the best person for her to pull to work with. Although, is he the person most likely to say yes is a separate question. When are we getting Dr. Will, or was that a rumor? I've certainly heard that several times. Is there like video evidence of that happening? Because it was talked about at the same time that people were seeing Kate in the previews, and the thought was that they were going to come like guest host challenges or something. It was in a trailer. Okay. I mean, I've seen Dr. Will on TV like one time. I don't know that I could photo ID him if asked. Blackmail is blackmail is forced recruitment. Well, if they offer her that mechanism, I mean, she doesn't get to choose it that it's a blackmail. You have to do the options that they give you. When there's only one traitor, it has to be a blackmail, because otherwise, if they say no and you're the only traitor, there is a chance you go home and the game is over. Got it. Okay, yeah. Kind of like to see your blackmail CT for fun. Wait, that also would be really fun. So I was very out on CT at the beginning of the season. I think just because like the him plus Johnny Bananas combo was really irritating. And I was very over all of the machismo right away. But this episode, he made me laugh a lot. I've kind of come around on him a bit. When he was like, Phaedra wants to light my torch. I'm not going to say no. That really tickled me. Like, that whole little sequence just made me laugh so hard. I feel really bad for Trishelle, because I totally understand where she's coming from. Of like, it sucks when something indicates to you that you clearly value the friendship more than the other person. If I were CT, what I would have said, I think he probably made the right choice game-wise, but what I would have said was, I think, even if you don't believe this, which I don't, but I would have said, if I felt like John was more at risk of getting murdered than you were. Because ultimately, if you're choosing between multiple allies, the person you need to save is the person you think is in more danger. And whether he actually thinks John was in more danger than Trishelle, that's what he should have said. Now, I think it's the opposite. I think Trishelle is more in danger of being murdered than John, but I'm not in CT's position, and I wouldn't have made the choice that he did. Because I think Trishelle's about to go home as a result. Yeah, he didn't handle it well. And I think it was very fair of all of the people who were not safe to be like, I'm not mad, but it does suck. Like, I get it's not personal, and inevitably there was going to be a group of us that didn't get chosen, but that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, and it doesn't suck, and it's not, like, stressful. All of those things can be true at the same time. And I like, it seemed like people were actually reasonable about it in terms of being like, mostly not taking it personally, but also still acknowledging how they felt about it without like it blowing up into something it didn't need to be. You don't understand why Parvus and Phaedra pick her. Me neither. That was crazy to me. I was like, why on earth would Phaedra pick you? When everybody thinks you're a traitor, if Phaedra chooses to save you, all that does is scream, I'm a traitor with Parvati. And there's not really a connection between the two of them working together or being allied outside of being part of the leftovers, but that's a big group of people. So I was like, that's not for a second did I think she was going to pick Parv. Yeah, exactly. I think Burgalicious is the next one murdered. Phaedra could see it as deflection. It's possible. You think before Trishelle? Because I think Trishelle is the bigger threat to Phaedra's game, but I don't think that that's going to get traced back to her. And I think she'd rather have Bergie as an ally, like keeping people off of her, rather than deflecting suspicion by murdering somebody that she's close to. It is between the two of them, though, between Bergie and Trishelle, because they're the two that are part of the stupid Peter clique. I think the smarter move is Trishelle, and I think that that's what they'll do. But Borgie's a good second choice. That's where I'm at. You were living for Sandra being the first to light the torch. It was really satisfying. I was like, Alan being like, fire represents your life, and if you don't get fire, you might get murdered. But I really liked the pairings for the challenge because it was smart on the Click's part, as much as I don't like it, to split themselves up for the most part and pair with people they were suspicious of so that they could like do their best to make it to the end. But that's also beneficial to the leftovers for like the same reason of like they're able to make bonds with those people like the way Parv and John did and Sandra and Kevin did. I thought it was really cute. I like the making people work in pairs thing because you get to see more specific dynamics than just these like chaotic large group things. You think Sheree is playing a smart low-key game? I mean, I think Sheree is just like not on the show. Sheree and MJ aren't on the show. They're there, they're playing the game, but they're not on the TV. How do we avoid trademark infringement here with Survivor? It's true, they're not on the same network, so it's not like a thing you can just share. I mean, he didn't literally say fire represents your life. And it was like the reverse of tribal council. It was lighting torches, not extinguishing torches. But it was a funny kind of parallel, especially to have a 2-time Survivor winner starting the torch lighting process. The tiptoeing. I was also confused about the lighting situation because like they went to the woods in the dark at night, but they were like coming out of what looked like a really brightly lit forest, and I didn't understand what that was about. But that's just my production brain being curious. Sheree screams final murder at it. Yeah, I don't see her getting banished or murdered. She's just kind of there. And clearly Phaedra's not going to murder her, at certainly not at this point. So she's in the long game, in it for the long game, I think. You want a Kevin banishment for the lulz? Why do you think Kevin would get banished, though? He's in the faithful of the faithful clique. He's made it past his everyone thinks he's an idiot, so we should just get rid of him because he's not useful part of the game. And obviously that's not going to happen tomorrow or next week, whatever. Because the leftovers have to banish at least a few of the faithful. But, I mean, not anytime soon, though, if they're playing things well enough. You'd love to see Kate become a traitor. That would be great TV. Be excellent TV. Is it good gameplay? Maybe. I don't know. It kind of depends. Is it good? Would it be good for Phaedra to recruit Kate? Kate's a Bravo person? Was she from Below Deck? Is that a Bravo show? Probably not. Yes. Kate is Bravo. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the benefit to recruiting Kate for Phaedra is they're not going to expect it's 2 Bravo people at that point. The benefit to recruiting Kate for Parvati, if it comes to that, I mean, if there's still 2 of them, they're not going to think it's 3 women. But I don't, and that it might be advantageous in the sense of nobody thinks it's her now, but once they know there's been a recruitment or a potential recruitment, and it depends too on if it's just one person and then it's a blackmail and somebody got recruited, then all bets are off and it could be anybody again. Probably better for Phaedra to go with someone who can be easily axed at the end, such as Parv. Ouch. Oh god, I hate that. Interesting. I don't know. We'll have to see. You know, we're getting a few steps ahead of ourselves at this point. I mean, we'll probably almost certainly lose 2 people next week because we'll start with the murder and then we'll have a round table with a banishment, you have to imagine. So I would think there's a strong possibility we lose Parvati next week unless they really pull the numbers together on the leftovers side to banish somebody from that clique, which is what they need to do. Because, like, even if people in that group are suspicious of Parvati, it still benefits them to get rid of the clique people first, because the clique people are not working with them. That's what I think. If you're shutting doors in my face and telling me to leave the room and locking the door behind me, I don't want you in the house anymore. Bye. Get out of here. Like, I can't get over it. If Peter decides to bring up his failed recruitment, then he loses at the next round table. Loses as in he gets banished, or loses as in the person he wants to send home won't go home? Right now they know it's likely Parv, so if she's a killer, you don't care. You think he gets banished? I don't think so. Well, I think he might buy the... I think that's exactly who the leftovers want to take out. But I don't think it will be because... or dependent upon whether he brings up his failed recruitment. I think they want him out regardless. Whether he's a traitor or not a traitor, whether he was recruited or not recruited, the leftovers need to get out those 5 people, and Peter is the ringleader of those 5 people. Yeah, he might get banished because of him shutting doors in people's faces, not because people think he's a traitor. Exactly, Ashley. That's exactly what I think. You think CT needs a reason to get Peter out? I mean, maybe, but he's a part of that group. He's not a part of the leftovers. He's in the little clique of boring men. And Trishelle, who's also there, technically. Although clearly at the bottom of that hierarchy based on the torches. Along with Bergie, I guess. CT is not the... He's not? Wait, it's John, Peter, Bergie... Oh, Kevin and Trishelle, that's the 5. I mean, if the right people talk to CT to get Peter out, I still think if Phaedra talks to CT, if she talks to her castle daddy, done. Bye. She's like, I saved you. I need you to do this for me. I think it's time. He's got to go. I don't think it's that hard to convince people to get Peter out. I really don't. Castle Daddy. I can't. I don't know. So I thought I had been spoiled on the episode because Sandra posted something, or I saw... Oh, maybe she didn't post it. It might have been... let me see if I can find it. Oh. Is this what it was? Yeah. Okay. Yesterday, Drop Your Buffs Pod on Instagram posted a thing from Sandra... or like these screenshots of Sandra saying, hell yeah, I would do Traitors again. Sign me up. We need a Traitors All-Stars. It would be perfect if we had almost every single person from this cast. There's a few that we don't care about. But I thought that got posted because she got eliminated either by banishment or murder. So I'm glad that wasn't the case and I wasn't spoiled. The spoilers are awful. You have to watch almost right away. It helps not being on Twitter, and I'm not on Twitter these days. I do have to dodge them a little bit on Instagram, but it's not as bad. And I'm not on Instagram that much either. UK versus the World season 2 is out now too. Yeah, it just started, right? Like the first episode just aired. I'll try to keep up with that too. But all of these shows, you know, I'm finding them on the internet, so I am at the scheduling mercy of others in terms of accessing them. To be fair, no one is on Twitter anymore. I use it to talk to people during the Survivor season, but that's really it. So like I took it off my phone and off my browser, not off it, like I closed it in my browser like 2 months ago or whenever, you know, the Survivor season ended. And I'll probably keep it off my phone, but maybe look at it again on the computer when the new season starts in a few weeks. And we will be doing our Survivor draft in the Discord again. So keep an eye out for, once we have all of the preseason interviews, I'll get it set up. You were more joking that it's called X now. We don't recognize that in this house. I'm all for legal name changes. Did one myself. I'm not calling Twitter anything but Twitter. You can still go to twitter.com. That's where I go. I was bummed because I realized when I did delete Twitter from my phone and it was still Twitter because I hadn't updated it, I realized that if I put it back on my phone, now it will be X. It won't be Twitter anymore, and that's a bummer. It's another motivation to not put it back on my phone. The premiere drops on your birthday. That is a nice treat. On, you'd think I'd know the date, but I sure don't. The 28th? On the 28th? It's got to be the 28th, right? Survivor premiere on the 28th, and then Rebirth on the 29th. What a time. You only know because of your birthday. Usually I know, but I think I know closer to. We're still a couple weeks away. You're in our special leap year of days. You're going in just watching RHAP preseason interviews. Yeah, that's what I'm going to watch. Well, I'm going to listen to the podcasts, which are rapidly piling up in my podcast feed. I just have to be like ready to absorb the information, which I have not been of late. So we'll get to that. Okay. Are we ready for some Persona? I think so. I think we're about ready. Cheesy, how are you? We haven't seen you in the chat in a while either. It's good to see you also. So yeah, my predictions for next week on the Traitors, just before we leave this conversation for now, is they murder Trishelle, and then at the round table, Sandra leads the charge to get Peter out. That's what I see happening. I was also nervous about this like Sandra visibility spike all of a sudden, because I thought I was spoiled that she was going home, and I was like, oh, we're getting to see Sandra before she leaves the show. So I'm also glad that was not the case. Yeah, so that's Traitors this week.